Okay, you've probably seen this scrolling through your feed, right? Influencers are promising these incredible results for weight loss, for anti-aging, even for performance. And it all comes from this little vial that they inject themselves. This is the world of DIY peptides, and it is a massive trend on TikTok. But here's the thing. Pharmacists and medical experts are sounding the alarm, and today we are going to break down exactly why.
So what is the real story here? Is this the next big thing in wellness, or is it a really dangerous medical trap that's just hiding in plain sight? All right, let's get into it.
To really understand what's going on, here's our game plan. We're going to look at the trend itself, dive into the serious risks of doing your own injections, figure out how to spot fake products, and then compare what influencers are saying to what the actual science says. Then we'll cover the right way to do this and wrap it all up with the key takeaways.
So first things first, let's get on the same page about what we are actually talking about here and why this has become such a huge point of concern for healthcare professionals everywhere.
Okay, so what even is a peptide? It's pretty simple, actually. Think of them as tiny little messengers. They're just short chains of amino acids, and their job is to travel through your body and tell your cells what to do. Your body makes them naturally, but scientists can also make them in a lab, and they can be incredibly powerful medicines. But here's where this whole trend goes off the rails. We're not talking about FDA-approved medicines that you get from a doctor. No. This is all about people buying completely unregulated products online. A lot of times, they're even labeled as research chemicals, just to get around the rules. And then, they're injecting them based on videos they saw on social media. The promises are huge, but the medical oversight, it's zero. It's completely non-existent.
You know, the risks here go way beyond just what's in the vial. It's also about how it's getting into your body. Because when you're talking about injections, technique is absolutely everything.
There's a reason doctors and nurses get so much training on how to do this safely. But online, what we're seeing is basically a masterclass in what not to do. People are reusing needles, a huge risk for infection. They're mixing these powders with non-sterile water. They're storing these delicate compounds the wrong way, which can make them totally useless or even dangerous. And they're injecting in the wrong spots on their body, which can cause some really serious injuries.
And the consequences? Well, they're severe. This is no small thing. We are talking about painful abscesses forming under your skin, really bad skin infections like cellulitis, and even permanent nerve damage. You could hit a blood vessel, or worse, you could end up with a systemic, life-threatening infection like sepsis.
Now, let's imagine for a second that someone somehow managed a perfect, sterile injection. There's still another huge problem: the product itself. When you buy from some random website, what are you actually injecting into your body?
I mean, the difference here is night and day. Regulated pharmaceuticals are made under incredibly strict standards. They're tested for purity, for safety, for the right dosage. These online research peptides, they have zero quality control, none. They could be full of bacteria, they could have the wrong ingredient completely, or they could have a concentration that is so high it's dangerous or so low it does absolutely nothing.
So, you have to know the red flags. If you see something sold as a research chemical, if you don't need a prescription, or if it's missing basic stuff like a batch number, an expiration date, or clear info on who made it, you can be 100% sure that is not a legitimate, safe, pharmaceutical-grade product.
And that brings us to what might be the most terrifying part of this entire trend: the dosage. You have influencers online confidently telling people exactly how much to take, but it's nothing more than a dangerous guessing game.
A real medical dose? It's figured out through painstaking clinical trials. It's tailored specifically to you by a doctor who is monitoring how you're doing. What you see online is the exact opposite. It's based on stories, it's a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's done with absolutely no safety monitoring. Some of these online doses are way higher than anything ever tested in a real study.
And that's because there's no way an influencer can know your personal health details. They don't know your weight, your medical history, what other medications you might be taking, or how well your kidneys and liver are working. They have no idea if you have a condition like heart disease or diabetes that could make these peptides incredibly risky. Giving out dosing advice without this information isn't just a bad idea, it's reckless.
So after all these warnings, you're probably wondering, is there a safe, evidence-based path? And the answer is yes. Legitimate peptide therapy absolutely exists, but it looks nothing like what's happening on TikTok.
The correct way to do this, the only way, is methodical and safe. It always starts with talking to a qualified healthcare provider. It involves a full medical evaluation, lab tests, and only if it's right for you, a valid prescription for a real pharmaceutical-grade product that you get from a legitimate pharmacy. And most importantly, it includes ongoing medical supervision.
Look, these are powerful substances. They can have really powerful effects and also really powerful side effects. You absolutely need a healthcare professional to manage drug interactions, to monitor how your body is responding, and just to make sure the treatment is both safe and effective for you.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. So let's bring it all together and really focus on the crucial takeaways that can help you stay safe and make smart decisions.
If you remember nothing else from this, remember this. 1. DIY injections are a shortcut to serious infections and injury. 2. Those unregulated online products are a total gamble. 3. Influencer dosing advice is not scientific and it's dangerous. And finally, any real, safe peptide therapy always, and I mean always, happens under the care of a medical professional. And that really leaves us with one final question you have to ask yourself. When you weigh the slick promises of a viral social media trend against the very real and potentially permanent risks to your health, is that a gamble you're actually willing to take?
And of course, just a reminder, this content is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. For any medical decisions or questions about your health, please always consult a qualified healthcare provider.